Hello everyone, this is JPL back with I don't know. Who wants to go first here?
Matthew here.
Matthew and
Toa.
yes. And we're back for another count of podcast name in the brackets, and today we'll be talking about the Justice League movie.
Woohoo.
Yes. There's so much to talk about here, so let's get started. First things first, what do you guys think of the movie?
Broad question, but in short, I enjoyed it.
Yes. Pretty much.
I thought it was good enough, but it had a few mistakes that made it difficult for me to enjoy it.
I thought it was good, but it could have been better.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, shall we launch into it?
Yep. Where should we start?
Spoilers ahead.
Yes.
Lots of
People
spoilers.
die.
People
Okay,
do.
so
I don't know.
actually, people reverse die in this movie.
Yes.
So like we start off from story-wise from Batman vs Superman, right? Which, in the end, he dies a tragic death and definitely isn't going to be reborn at all.
No.
Because why would they do that to a superhero?
Yeah. It's DC. Come on.
And they definitely didn't say he would be reborn like a week after the movie originally came out.
Mm-hmm.
So like, we start off on a world that's like, oh no, we need Superman, but do we? Maybe.
Starts off with
but
a
I guess-
song that just seems out of place.
What is it? Everybody knows. or
Yeah,
something?
everybody knows.
Yeah, I've got the soundtrack going while we're going, so it's keeping me fresh.
Yeah, I want to talk about the soundtrack later. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good part. Anyways, so the whole movie is a unite the 5.5
League.
and yeah, and it kind of followed a similar story to the animated Justice League movie.
No.
That I think it's in New 51. It's got a similar thing. It's
War.
not as good. Yeah, War. But it has a similar idea where there's an alien invasion type of thing going on.
Starts out with
and they had to
a
unite together.
parademon and
Yeah.
Batman chasing him. So.
Which
Yeah.
I think they needed more in that first Batman scene, personally.
Okay, so the first Batman scene annoyed me a lot, and these are the major things. So, one, he stops a dude that has a gun, and then, leaves him for whatever reason. Okay. Two, he's like, whoa, this parademon just exploded, and now there are 3 box marks on the wall.
Oh my.
First off, why? When I die, I hope that my body does not reveal a secret that I don't want my enemies to know. It just confused me as to why that was the thing imprinted on my
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
I was hoping the parademon
don't
would
know.
just yell out, "Hail Darkseid,"
Mm.
But no.
Yeah.
Aliens don't speak
Hail
English.
Darkseid.
That's why Steppenwolf had such a hard time speaking English, and all the Kryptonians and
Pretty much the basic
Yeah.
language is English for most part of it.
yeah.
Yeah. So shall we start talking about Batman,
Sure.
Let's do it.
who had not very much going on except for his romance with Wonder Woman?
Yes. That. I mean, Batman was Batman. However, there are a few points where I felt like his character was very inconsistent than what it was in the past movie, especially when he starts joking around in some parts where that's obviously done, just to change what it was in the last movie.
Yeah.
Which I feel like Batman should have remained consistent because Batman is not the joking kind of person.
Right.
And while I did like his joke where he's like, "Oh, something's definitely bleeding," that was kind of funny. That his character wouldn't really do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always see Batman as the character that's like driven and passionate and willing to do whatever it takes to get something done for the most part without compromising his own self. But the thing is, like, we see Batman crack jokes in comics and things like that. Comics, cartoons, pretty much whatever he's in, he'll crack a smile or a joke on occasion.
Yes.
But he's not generally the one to give quips or punchlines or anything like that. He's normally the one that's focused and trying to get the job done, which is something that they didn't really... The only time they capitalized on that was when they were bringing Superman back. Where he's like, no, we need to get it done. Don't worry, I have a backup plan. That was like, okay, you're driven and focused and stuff, but we don't see the smart, intelligent, calm, I don't know, lone wolf type of thing. Mm-hmm. Which I get it. He's the one that's uniting the league, so he can't be the lone wolf.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Aquaman's role in this. But by breaking from his character in that regard, they should have put in more of his character.
Yeah, I think that is... I think the DCU has had trouble with its characters and nailing them down. And so especially with Batman and Superman, they've had a bit of a difficult time figuring out what they want those characters to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I love, the Batsuit. Ben Affleck, one of my favorite live-action interpretations of Batman.
Yep.
I do wish that he would continue to do the Matt Ryan Batman films. That whole thing is still up in the air. You could just type that in Skype.
It's too difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all we have on him?
I mean, Ben Affleck as Batman, I still think is my favorite, even though his character was not really as definite in this movie.
Yeah.
I still think the actor is a very good actor and a very good fit for Batman. I just don't think the direction of the character was a good fit for Batman.
And you gotta keep in mind that this Batman is based off of the old Frank Miller Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And, that Batman had a short time, and he was mostly self-contained with him against Superman, so...
Right.
It wasn't much with him working with someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that does sort of not help the movie that they've, in Batman vs. Superman, they made him to be such a lone wolf that and the sudden flip-flop is a big thing that happens in this Justice League movie of, like, they're doing a complete turn from what they were doing in Batman vs. Superman, and I think the direction they're heading is a good one, but the turn didn't feel very good.
Yeah, I think they could have played it off a lot better. Part of that is, I think, definitely Batman versus Superman's fault, but I think you can make a sequel that makes its previous movie good. But if you make a sequel that turns too sharply, that changes too much too quickly, you'll be like, oh wow, the sequel's really good, but its predecessor wasn't.
Well, we also we must keep in mind that a lot of stuff was changed during the whole Snyder stepping down, and then Whedon stepping up because of that whole issue.
Right.
So we don't entirely know what the thing was originally supposed to be, because the tone does change sometimes through the movie, and you could probably figure out who did what somewhere.
Yeah. Well, who's next on the character list?
It says Superman.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about him a little bit. I think this is the first time that I actually like Henry Cavill's Superman, because one of the things that someone pointed out was that Superman is supposed to be the type of character that you can imagine, reading a book to kindergartners. And I saw that for the first time in this movie. In all of the other movies, he just didn't seem like the type of guy you want to hang out with.
Right. Here, I really liked the usage of he was the power force for the Justice League, where once he showed up, the battle was pretty much over.
Yeah.
And, okay, so through Superman, we have to discuss his whole resurrection thing. Obviously, like, Snyder's been using a lot of Jesus-isms with Superman throughout the entire series, so it wasn't a surprise at all when he dies and then comes back to life. Heck, they do that in comics all the time anyways, so
yeah.
But the thing is, bringing him back and having him fight the Justice League for a bit, I like that. That was all right. But at the same time, it felt like there was no real stakes when that happened, because we knew at the end of the day that he's a good guy, and we knew at the end of the day that he can probably help with their fight and all that. I felt like killing him off in the first place was unnecessary, unless they were going to have him. Bringing him back just wasn't a super big plot point. They could have been like, oh, he faked his death, and it would have changed the story, or so many other alternatives.
And even worse, it actually lowers the stakes for the movie, because once one superhero comes back, well, why can't all of the other ones?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It kind of cheapens the death in the DCEU. Like, even in, like, Wonder Woman, well, Steve Trevor and Robin Wright's character, they could show up again. So it lessens the impact. And I think even though we already knew that Superman was coming back, they spent way too much time trying to make us feel sad for him, especially at the beginning of this movie with, as much as I love watching Amy Adams and Diane Lane have these acting conversations, it's still, we all knew that Superman was coming back, so why are those scenes in the movie?
Yeah.
Now, what could have been cool, and this was like a flash thought through my head, what if Superman was dead, and now this character was Bizarro? Like, he wakes up, he's like, I'm really angry, nothing seems right, I'm gonna be Bizarro from now on. And I thought, oh, that could be really cool. Add in a different villain. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen, but add in a different villain. Maybe make this more tricky. No.
Yeah, it would have. And it seemed like they were going that way initially with Superman fighting the Justice League, but they course corrected.
Which, that was just a great moment, especially when he saw the Flash. It was going fast.
I think that was one of the better humorous parts of the whole movie, where the Flash is running past, and Superman turns and is like, "I see you. You done messed up."
Yes, I think we should also take a quick note. Point out the CGI mouth.
Yeah. Okay. So that was something that I was noticing, and I was like, "That looks bad. What happened here?" So I read up on it. If anybody else would like to explain, go ahead.
Oh yeah,
Guys,
for
it's-
Mission Impossible, I believe it's the sixth
Yes.
one. Henry Cavill had to have a beard, and Paramount said no, you can't shave it. So Warner Brothers had to digitally remove it, which I think it's just hilarious that Paramount's like, no, we're not going to get him to shave his mustache for Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they have just makeup and just fake mustaches that look really good that they can just use. So I don't see the trouble.
Yeah. And yeah, that's part of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole scene with the shawarma scene with Chris Evans at the end of Avengers, like, he has a beard in it, and
Yeah.
but again, that's one scene for the end credits. So compared to,
The entire movie.
the entire
Yeah.
movie. But
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those problems that once you know the behind the scenes stories, you can kind of just say, okay, fine.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
It's kind of like Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. He kind of had to be there, so we can excuse it for now.
yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
now okay, so the resurrection of Superman.
It was way different than I thought.
Well, there's that, but also I think my biggest problem is, like, there are almost two full movies dedicated to being like, hey, we need to be able to have the same power as Superman without having Superman. So let's do X. X being, hey, let's unite either a group of bad guys or a group of good guys to fight whatever alien attacks. And both fails, which kind of sets up a distinction that, hey, nobody's as good as Superman. Y'all suck. Good luck.
Yeah.
I think they should have shown Wonder Woman's power against Superman a bit better.
Yeah. Well, comic book wise, I mean, Aquaman has gone toe to toe with Superman in a fist fight, and the Flash is faster than Superman. Maybe not at this given time in the movies, and they kind of poke fun at that a little bit. But it made Clark into this overpowered godlike figure, and everything else into nothing, which almost seems silly after the last movie where he literally died.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're leaning very heavily on Superman as a crutch.
Yeah. I do kind of wish that this movie, instead of, just having, oh, we need to unite, be like how the Avengers was, S.H.I.E.L.D., they brought in the Avengers together, and they do something like that here without S.H.I.E.L.D., but the way that I kind of wish they would have done it is the way they have been doing it in like the TV shows, like the Justice League TV show and then the Justice League War movie, was that all the heroes stumbled into each other and like they've never met each other. This is the first time they're all meeting, and it's like, who are you? I'm Batman. Are you a good guy? You sure? Okay, you're my friend now, and they fight together.
yeah. Well, and because there is that distinction of, I don't know if I can trust you, and they hinted on that in this movie, but it wasn't anything like, okay, we're, regardless of who we are, we're uniting together to stop this evil. It's like, I've done some research on you, and I think you're okay. Would you like to join us? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and you
is.
know, it's this Justice League also feels weird because a lot of the heroes they're brand new heroes in their timeline. They're rookies. Whereas you would look
Yeah.
at the old Justice League TV show, these heroes they were at their prime. You know, they were already
Yeah.
established as heroes. They knew each other of each other's existence, and so they meet up with each other and it's like, hey, it's you, and then they continue. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's just a small note. Anyone else want to say anything?
I don't know that I have anything to add.
Oh, they filmed vertically instead of horizontally at the beginning of the film. I was
Yeah.
upset.
I know that you're very upset about that. I think of that whenever I'm filming vertically, and then I quick switch
I
my
saw that in the
camera.
beginning of the movie, and I was very annoyed by. Oh wow, they just start the movie with this, and it's looked completely different from the rest of the movie.
I mean, it was a good touch. It humanized Superman a little bit more, but it was still like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
is a no-no.
and it did feel a little bit derogative of Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I could see that. Yeah.
Just like I think they should have gone a different direction with that, just because Spider-Man: Homecoming came out this year as well, and they were already doing reshoots. So
Right.
Yeah. I guess we should move on. Who should we move on to?
well, we can discuss Lois Lane.
Yeah,
True.
she was Lois Lane. She was.
As
Amy
a,
Adams is like this incredible actress, and they give her nothing to do. I mean, she made reading interesting in Nocturnal Animals.
Yeah.
Like here, she's just like she's Superman's dog,
I mean,
like pet dog.
I think they used.
He goes over to her and like pets her, and then feels better.
I mean, I liked that usage of her, how she was the one who could bring back Superman, but besides that, she was
Yeah.
just there feeling sad with Martha.
yeah. I mean,
And they
Yeah.
sell Martha's house just so they can buy it again.
Yeah. That was.
Again,
I mean, what? That was useless.
I mean, it's a perfect thing for Batman because he's known to like, oh, I bought the bank. He does that as Bruce Wayne a lot of the
Right.
times, but
I mean, it was a lot of effort for a punchline that didn't really do anything, and it didn't add anything to any of the characters.
so I saw that her house was she was selling the house, and I thought, oh, that's gonna be an interesting plot point. Nope, she's
well, I mean, we can now attribute Lois to a someone who breaks into houses now,
Oh yeah.
being that she entered the house while it was being sold. But Superman did not, so good on him.
yeah.
I'm sure that was intentional
Yeah.
by the filmmakers.
Yeah. All right, on to Wonder Woman.
I have a bone to pick with Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder for what they did to Wonder Woman, because they did not treat her character well.
Okay. In what regard?
Mainly the blatant objectification. I rewatched Wonder Woman, so this was even bigger for me. But they just treated her character very poorly. There were very tight pants that they made her wear. There were several upskirt shots, and she was the butt of several jokes that were very distasteful.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll agree with you there. But I don't think that was just towards her. I mean, like, with Jason Momoa in the same movie, you could say that both sides had pretty good eye candy.
Yeah, but especially after Wonder Woman, it felt very like when you watch Wonder Woman, there's a very definite effort to make her not a sexual object, but
Hmm.
instead a like person. So even though she's attractive, she isn't an object. And I think that
Well,
Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon have a bit of a problem distinguishing attractive and sexual
well,
objects.
I in the past, it's pretty much been that to men, Wonder Woman has always been an object, but she would always fight back and says, "I'm not an object. I'm a woman." Uh, and that was like,
But she never had that moment in
which I
this
kind of
movie.
felt like they should have done. It's like, oh,
Yeah. And if
I,
you
to some degree, I don't think they had to as much with this movie because for two reasons. Because one, they already dealt with that a lot in the last film, and it might have felt like just beating a dead horse if they had brought it into this one. But at the same time, in this one, she pulled her own weight. In fact, she pulled more than her own weight in this movie. Um, until like ish,
Yeah,
not
and
compared to
that's
Superman,
yeah, that's
but
the problem is that she wasn't treated well by the filmmakers. And I found it very distasteful, and it brought me out of the movie at several points. And it wasn't like it was in every single scene, but it was often enough that it was very annoying and I think a little bit degrading to what the character was in Wonder Woman. It was a step back from that. And if you look at Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon's track record, they don't really have the best with portrayals of female characters. Zack Snyder, in Watchmen, he took some lines from the female character and gave them to male characters in the same scenes that this female character was present in.
right.
So, yeah, and especially if this had come out before Wonder Woman, it wouldn't be as much of a problem. But since it came out after Wonder Woman, it feels very strange. It feels like they mistreated the character.
Maybe, I don't know. That's not really a vibe that I picked up on too much when I was watching it, I suppose. Um, which, eh,
and I of course don't pay attention to stuff like this.
yeah. I guess
And
it. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, continue.
yeah, I mean, if you compare her to Wonder Woman from the Wonder Woman movie, they feel very different.
Well, a
Well,
century apart, so it makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
I
And this isn't just a problem that I've had with the movie. I've heard a lot of people talking about this as a big issue.
I think Wonder Woman was the most consistent between the movies because
Yeah,
I don't think Superman has really been super consistent with between the films, and I don't think Batman was very consistent between.
yeah, I think she does get the character consistency award, but again, like I said, I think it's mainly the filmmakers, um, and they treated the character
And
very
besides, her
poorly.
character is just really difficult to do. So,
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like they should have brought on a female writer or even a female director to just do Wonder Woman well, because apparently Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon weren't able to do the character justice.
Uh, I get it. Just
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, maybe I'm over exaggerating it, but I have heard people. This has been the complaint that I've heard the most, just reading reviews.
hmm.
hmm.
I think okay. So, segueing to her powers and stuff. They used the lasso a lot in this movie, and I think that was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
They showed her being very fast, which was also cool. And I think it didn't explicitly say, but I like how it kind of hinted that, like, her, I guess somewhat hinted, I don't really know, but like in Wonder Woman, it showed her hitting her cuffs together to produce like a boom, and it's cool to see that because when I was watching the movie, I kept on thinking, if it does that much damage, why doesn't she just hit them together a lot? And then as I thought about it more, she hit them together interspersed after blocking attacks. So I think it was well hinted that her cuffs absorbed kinetic energy and then released them when they were put together, which I think was just a good touch.
Yeah.
Overall.
I do feel that her powers weren't as well demonstrated as they could have been, but yeah, I mean, and she's still my favorite Justice League hero in the movies so far.
Yeah, I'm kind of too. I think Gal Gadot does an amazing job acting her. I didn't think too highly of her in Batman vs Superman, but she's done well in these other two movies. And she fits the role really well of being just a good superhero. That's like, I don't know. She seems genuine, I suppose.
Yeah, she's like I was saying with Superman. I could totally imagine her reading a book to kindergarteners.
Yeah, but at the same time, like punching a robber in the face.
She fits that. She's very much the hero that you want saving you.
Yeah, for sure. She inspires hope.
Yeah, it's interesting how she's kind of become the Superman of this universe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Speeding right along, would we like to move on to the Flash?
Oh, sure.
Or another character.
The Flash.
He was in this movie just enough. I feel like I could never sit through a Flash movie just because he gets on your nerves a little bit.
This version of the Flash, I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels a lot like Ezra Miller's The Flash and not...
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like the Flash as I've seen in the comic books or in the TV show.
This seems less of a Barry Allen Flash and more of a Wally West Flash.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. I think if that's the route that they took, that would have been a cool way of doing it. But he was there as comic relief.
And a lot of his comic relief
was
just bland.
Yeah. Well,
he had some good moments,
he did.
And he had some moments that fell flat.
A lot of it was just very, like, meta jokes, like, oh my goodness, this is happening. Which is okay. And I think in that sense, they did some of the meta jokes a little bit better than in Thor Ragnarok. But overall, I still think it was probably too much.
Yeah, I think that really distracted me about the Flash is that they like retold his backstory, and it's the exact same backstory that they have for the Flash TV show. And I feel like the Flash TV show just has a better way of putting the emotional aspect, because the Flash's father is John Wesley Shipp in the show, who played the Flash previously. Right. And here we just have some actor that I don't really care about. So,
yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of contrary to that, because I think they did a good job of bringing, in general, I think one thing that I will say is, backstory-wise, I didn't feel flooded. That's the biggest thing that I'm annoyed with when it comes to superhero movies now is that, like, Spider-Man's origin story is iconic and fun. But other than that, I don't need to know how Batman became Batman. I've heard that a billion times. I don't really need to know how the Flash became the Flash, much more than he got struck by lightning and stuff. When it comes down to origin stories, they weren't the goal of this movie, and I think that's a win already. I mean, origin stories for individual characters. Obviously, the whole movie is the Justice League origin story, but yeah, I think them just bringing us up to speed with, hey, his dad's in jail and he was struck by lightning and stuff, that was enough for me.
Yeah, and it helps you connect a little bit to the character.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of took me out of the
Show.
movie because it felt like the exact same thing that I just saw.
Right.
But
Yeah,
Well,
and that is... I don't watch The Flash, so that wasn't an issue for me, but I can imagine that it is for those who do watch The Flash.
I wanted to know more about, Aquaman, and I want to know more about his backstory, but they focused more on the other characters.
Well, and I think that was somewhat intentional, being that isn't Aquaman's movie coming out soonest?
Yeah,
from this point
next year.
So that it gave us enough to where we're curious, but we know very little. And I think that was it was good.
So his suit.
Oh yeah, the Flash,
Yes.
right? We're still on him. Yeah.
I didn't notice anything special about it.
Okay, so at first I was kind of annoyed because it did look a lot like the Power Ranger reboot suit. But throughout the movie I grew to like it because, one, there was no like, how do you make this suit or whatever, or like there's no origin story to the suit either. It was kind of just like, you made that out of the stuff that spaceships are made out of, and he's like, oh yeah, I did that. And like throughout it, like you see all these strings that are holding it together, and overall it looks somewhat professional. Like it was made with intelligence behind it, but it wasn't like it. At the end of the day, it's still strung together, which is a unique look for a superhero.
Yeah.
I think it contrasted very well with the lightning effect.
Yeah, but the lightning effects, I don't know, because the Flash and everything, including his comics, has always been he had yellow lightning. Here, they took a much more realistic turn, which kind of looks weird, but it's fine.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is in my... Whenever I watched like the Justice League TV show, I always thought of the lightning behind him as like more of, hey, that's his suit that's kind of blurring behind him, and then the lightning is just kind of there to show like the static as it's going, and like the energy and whatnot.
Yeah.
In this, it was cool to have the lightning bouncing everywhere. I think that was a cool effect. It also kind of showed off like the Speed Force and whatnot, but it made me think too much about like, hey, what if you're running and you're wearing a watch? Does the watch short circuit? Or like, if you run through a puddle, do you get shocked? Too many questions in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does, the blue lightning, as much as I enjoy the contrast, and it does help to distinguish him from the TV show Flash, it's a little bit reminiscent of Thor.
Yeah, especially with the new Thor having just come out.
Yeah. They should have had orange lightning.
Just to stylize
Yeah.
it.
Just for messing with everyone.
I would have been okay with that.
It would have looked cool. With the orange lightning.
Pink lightning.
Just to see what it looked like.
Yeah.
Aquaman.
Alright,
He-
on to Aquaman.
There's nothing special about him that wasn't in the trailers.
Psh, what are you talking about? He's got that one scene where he sits on the lasso.
That's that's pretty much all you remember about Aquaman. That
yeah.
he sits on the lasso and has that funny moment.
I think Matt's right. Every good bit of Aquaman was already featured in the trailers. So most of the comic relief that he provided just wasn't there for me. Like, I really loved his character. I think Jason Momoa did a great job with Aquaman. It's a different Aquaman than what I've seen. But it was good. And it seemed like the actor was having fun with the character, which made the character seem like he was just having fun.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they just
And
glanced
that was
over the whole Atlantis scene with Mira and the Atlanteans. Because for me, I know who that character is. It's like, oh, it's Mira. I want to see her in action. But I don't think they really say who she was. And her scene was too short. And it's like, oh, Queen Atlanta. It's like, who the heck is that? I don't care.
Yeah. She is credited as Mara, but if you didn't already know the comics, you wouldn't know.
I mean, I'm excited to
So.
see what she is, because she's, Aquaman's honey.
Yes.
I do think, as interesting as the direction Jason Momoa took with it was, they should have waited to reveal that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
By the time I saw the movie, that's his Aquaman was who I thought of when I heard Aquaman. So there wasn't anything special about it by that
Like,
point.
for me, his Aquaman just seems like his character before he discovered that he was Atlantean.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and with his whole scene for him getting the trident, I think there needed to be more. Like, even just a scene being like, fine, I'll take you to the trident, but you have to do this for me. Or he just sneaks in and steals it or something. I don't know.
And that's one of those things why I feel like there's a bunch of scenes that are just completely missing. Because this movie did feel kind of short.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm excited for the extended
if it ever
director's cut
happens.
release. I hope it does.
I honestly felt, though, that I don't know that I could have sat through any more of that movie.
That's
I
just
totally
because
it felt really short. to me.
you have little patience, Matthew.
It's not that I have little
You
patience.
do. You
it's
can't
just
even.
that-
You just watch a few minutes of a Netflix TV show, and then you're just done. It's like, oh, I can't watch this. This is boring me.
Well, I sit through movies all the time. I sit through movies that people would call boring, and I watch them multiple times, but I felt like this one was a good length, even if it didn't have as much character development as I would have liked, just because it's like, it's a fun little thing. It's over with in enough time, and you can go home.
I don't know. For me, I
Be done
left
with it.
the movie like wanting more.
And I think that's a good thing.
Well,
for,
because I was very
getting to see Justice League 2.
dissatisfied with what I had here.
Yeah, I honestly, I could have seen more, but based on the quality of what I had already seen, I don't know that what they would have added would have actually been of any good quality.
I still think it'd be great. This is coming from a person who likes the Star Wars Holiday Special.
You raise a solid point there, and also drop your other point into boiling acid. Okay.
Like I say, I don't dig a hole. I swing the shovel.
Oh yeah, just a side note on Aquaman. Um, not using a trident, he's using pentadent, but whatever.
Pendant.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm not too annoyed by that. It's just I think a trident would have been cooler.
Oh, I thought
Um,
one note on his character. I thought they should have given him some water to work with for the last fight scene,
Yeah.
mm,
just to be a little bit more interesting than falling with his.
yeah,
Also,
and
the
punching
scene
things.
where he talks with Mira, I don't understand what the whole air bubble was about.
Oh yeah, they could have talked underwater probably, but
I mean, it would have looked a little bit strange.
Like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's supposed to have gills, so.
It's probably the directors just holding their heads up and being like, "Okay, director of Aquaman, you can figure out how they talk underwater."
or maybe they just wanted a shot of
Her doing something.
Amber Heard.
With
yeah.
her, with
Or,
water
well,
coming
Amber.
down.
Yeah, completely drenched. Yeah.
That's why.
I mean, considering what they did with Wonder Woman, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be fair, from the sneak photos that we saw of Heard before, she has a lot less cleavage in this movie.
Yeah,
So, at least that's a positive thing.
but the Amazons have more cleavage than in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and more like midriff showing and such. Yeah, that was one thing I noticed.
And,
as
you
well.
know, them being demolished by Steppenwolf didn't really. It
Yeah,
didn't mean anything to me because I know that, you know, 19 World War One German soldiers can defeat them. That
Yeah, I mean, like, are there any Amazons left
I don't
anymore
know.
at this
I
point?
hope so. I hope
Oh, yes,
that
there is.
Hippolyta is still around.
Yeah, I mean, the ending shot was the
Okay,
army
well.
just. He left and the army just came in. It's like, oh, what happened to this guy?
Okay, cool. Well, that's good. All right, on to Cyborg.
I feel like they
suppose.
handled his character the way that it normally is handled. That with the same storyline. No?
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
feel like he was a very interesting character. Of the new characters, he intrigued me the most, but I think he's also the most forgettable because I can't remember why he intrigued me. I just remember that I was interested.
He was more of a plot than a character,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
And that was kind of the problem. His whole story in this kind of thing is he's the Frankenstein's monster. That like he doesn't want to be a monster, but ends up going with it because he has to at the end of the day. He's the reluctant hero,
Yeah.
but not reluctant per se out of selfish reasons, but more out of fear. I guess.
but in a universe where everyone else is a reluctant hero, it doesn't really
Yeah.
help to distinguish him.
Yeah.
And I guess
But,
in
I
this
mean,
movie they made a few more not reluctant heroes, but
yeah, and I mean, I think part of it is like he just didn't have very many. I think the actor portrayed him well, but when it came to like delivering lines, that was one thing that I kind of just zoned out as soon as he started speaking.
and I mean
and that might be.
to be fair, he just didn't have any moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
Kind
I'm
of
d-
like Aquaman in that respect.
yeah.
Just kind of he's there. Why? Because we needed another hero, and
Well-
we needed the representation.
Right. And another thing is, Cyborg is probably the youngest on the team. But Flash
Well, maybe
definitely.
the Flash.
Yeah. It seems they're probably close to the same age,
Yeah,
at least. But it seems like, at least based on comics, generally Cyborg is younger than
yeah.
than Barry Allen, at least. Definitely than Barry Allen. So in this, it was odd. Like, the Flash has never been a paragon of maturity, but it seemed like the Flash was more a coming of age story than Cyborg's story was.
Yeah.
But
My only thing about Cyborg is I feel like they should have stuck with an actual suit than CGI.
Yeah, that would have been nice as well.
I mean, while the
Made
CGI,
it look a little bit more real.
while the CGI, it did look good at times, I do feel like they would have looked better with an actual costume. Because even with the CGI, you could do that with an actual costume. Because Hulk, you can't really do that with a costume. It'd be pretty difficult.
right.
Well,
But you
they've
can-
done it before
Iron
with a
Man.
costume, but it didn't turn out all that well.
True. I think so. One of my biggest complaints was going to be that the suit just looked bad throughout most of the entire movie. The end credit scene kind of helped with that because, like, he's like, "Oh look, I redid my suit and now I've got a C on it for Cyborg." But yeah, before then, it doesn't look distinguishable or particularly good. It reminded me a lot of Michael Bay Transformers movies where it just looks like two junkyards fighting.
Like the most trouble I see that just really signifies it's CGI is just the lighting, and where the lighting doesn't work. And that's one other thing that I'm not too sure about the whole Black Panther suit is just because sometimes the lighting doesn't really look good on it.
Right. And it definitely is tricky, but I think there are more practical alternatives. I don't know if like the face was completely CG. It looked like it to me, but that's something I think they could have at least done practically.
Yeah.
Like the armor on the face, I should say.
Yeah. It isn't as bad as the Green Lantern costume from 2011, but
We can talk about that
Yeah.
later.
that doesn't mean it's like a good costume either.
Right. And like, okay, so iconically, most people know Cyborg from Teen Titans, who has a very blue and gray look to him. And I did like the little nod to him saying "booyah" at the end there. That was a classic.
Yeah, I
moment.
was waiting
But-
for him to go like booyah, but it's just kind of half-hearted
Yeah.
booyah.
Booyah. Yeah. I think a more solid looking suit could have been better. I understand why they went with like a more rigid part jutting out suit, but I'm sure in future movies it's gonna look really good. And I hope that they focus a little bit more on Cyborg. He's not getting his own movie, is
I
he?
don't know.
I don't think so. I think maybe this might just be a rumor, but they might be doing a Flash and Cyborg movie.
Well, Flashpoint.
Yeah, Flash is Flashpoint for sure.
Okay. I feel like he could be a part of someone else's movie. Kind of like Black
Yeah.
Widow or
Yeah,
Thor.
because Cyborg,
Or
there's
not
not
Thor,
enough
Hulk.
Yeah.
for Cyborg to be his own thing. Because he's always
And
worked well off
the
of
reason,
others.
yeah. The reason I would put him in the Flash movie is because the Flash is so annoying for extended periods of time.
Well, and so it's a Flashpoint movie, so we're gonna end up with, sorry, Thomas Wayne Batman.
Assuming they do
which-
that.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume there. Yeah, if they pull a CW Flashpoint, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah,
Just pointing that
yeah.
out.
We want a real Flashpoint.
Yeah. But yeah, so Cyborg overall, he's there.
I think
Which
he's
is cool.
the best of the new characters, but I mean that's mainly just that the actor does a really good job with it. At least
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I think So like one thing that I just thought about, his original like reason for doing anything was that his dad was captured, and then he's like, oh shoot, I gotta go do something. But then after that, it feels like he doesn't really have too much reason. Obviously, like, he doesn't want his dad to die, so like he may as well save the world, but they never really brought that into the light.
Yeah, not too much.
I think they could have, but oh well.
All right.
I say, before we move on to anything else big, one group of characters I would like to point out is all the different cameos within the first battle against Steppenwolf.
I mean, shouldn't we wait on that one?
We can do that. What do you have?
Well, I think that we should probably talk about the character of Steppenwolf.
Oh yeah, I guess we
before
can do
we
that.
talk about
I
that.
forgot he had one.
Yeah.
I don't know that he has a character. Yeah. He's generic alien bad guy.
I didn't really like his character was kind of inconsistent with how strong he was. Because because let's see, the first battle it takes the entire Amazonian army, the entire Atlantean army, a few Norse gods, whatever you call them, a few Green Lanterns to finally defeat him. Here, all you need is one Atlantean, one Amazonian, and Batman and Flash, which it doesn't make sense because he just demolished all of the Amazonians beforehand, and it's just
Well, and like also pretty much like everybody it seemed on the Justice League was getting just wiped out, and then Superman shows up, punches him once, and is like, oh wait, civilians, and then books it, and they're like, oh, we can hit him pretty hard now. It was like, well, why weren't you hitting hard beforehand? But okay.
Well, yeah. And I kind of feel like they shouldn't have used Steppenwolf in the beginning because his character was not supposed to be the way he was. His character was always weak, and the only reason why he can go toe-to-toe with Superman was because of the Red Sun thing that he does. Which is why I felt like they should have used Darkseid as the villain.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they want to build up to Darkseid, but
which they don't even do well. He's only mentioned one in this movie. I feel like Darkseid should have appeared when Steppenwolf was sent back to Apokolips. He could have come down, just slapped Superman, said, your world is next, Kryptonian, and then leaves. Be menacing like that. The way he's always done it.
Yep. But, oh well. It was a nice... I'm glad that they brought in the world of Apokolips a little bit more. Because that's not something that's really in the limelight of a lot of DC popular media. So that's cool. And it might tie into other origin stories later. But anyways.
I mean, the whole plot with Mother was like very confusing. I mean, for me, I don't understand what he means by mother. My mother thought, like, who is Steppenwolf's mother? Why is he calling out to him? Her.
Her.
Isn't that a reference to the mother box?
Yeah, which is like, well, oh, mother sent me. Why? Just say the mother box sent me. Don't say mother.
Right.
Maybe he's talking about the Jennifer Lawrence movie.
I don't get the reference.
Neither do I.
It came out this year.
Okay. Whatever you say. Now let's talk about the cameos.
Okay, so back in our flashback-ish thing, we get a couple glimpses of the war from Apokolips and Earth. And obviously we have three major parties. On one side we've got the humans, we got the Atlanteans, and we got the the Amazons, and then they're going up against Steppenwolf and whatnot. But like, we got the Greek gods that show up. I noticed at least Zeus. I think credited we have Zeus and Artemis.
There's one other.
And yeah, I'm trying to.
I just saw it a few minutes ago.
Zeus, Ares?
Yes,
Ares
it was Ares.
Ares. Yeah, weird. Okay. Which that was cool. Good on them. I'm glad they showed him. I actually didn't realize that Artemis was a girl until like now. I thought it was Apollo that they were referring to because it lit up, and Apollo is pretty androgynous and in most depictions, but yeah.
And then we have the greatest cameo of all time.
Green Lantern that gets killed pretty much instantly.
Yep.
Because he's bad at his job.
Oh, we don't know how long he's been
That's
fighting. But yeah, I kind of felt like we should have seen more Green Lantern, just because I love the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
That would have been a really good direction to take this movie. Just like introduce Green Lantern, do a surprise.
Actually, originally, two Green Lanterns were supposed to appear at the end of the movie, after credits scene. Kilowog and I believe the bird-looking one were supposed to appear and explain why they couldn't join the battle because of some reason, and they would end the scene by saying, "Oh, we need a Green Lantern of Earth. We must look for that," kind of thing.
Was that the Willem Dafoe character?
I don't think so. I don't know.
The bird dude?
The bird-looking Green Lantern.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about because of that depiction exactly, but I have no idea the name or much else about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad they at least included a Green Lantern.
Especially the actual lantern part.
Yeah. And I liked how they had the ring like fly away and stuff. That was cool. But
gotta see more.
Yeah, I definitely think it should have been like, Superman's here, he can take him, and Superman's like, I can kind of take him, guys, but I'm gonna need help. And then Green Lantern's there like, I can help, or I don't know,
like a Wonder Woman type role.
Yeah, but like actually introduce him early on and make him like important or something.
Ah, yeah.
You know, like his whole trying to discover another plot that's there.
Yeah. Don't make him like an attractive woman that only steals things at the beginning. That doesn't
make it into Jon Stewart as well.
No, go with the original.
No, because people will think the original guy as the whole Ryan Reynolds character.
No, I'm talking the original Green Lantern.
Oh, the original Green Lantern.
Ooh.
Who,
I still
like
think
Adam Scott or something.
No, I don't know, but I still want the Jon Stewart guy. That way you can say, "Oh, we have diversity," but still, that's just an epic-looking Green Lantern there, Jon Stewart.
True, and like to me, he'll always be the OG Green Lantern. Like, I know that Hal Jordan is like the actual OG.
Growing
up
up with Justice League TV show.
Yeah. They could do it with like another Lantern too. Like there's a good cast of Lanterns.
As long as they don't do Guy Gardner.
Yeah, that would be that would be bad. But they could go with what, Kyle Renner or the two lanterns that are a thing.
I don't know.
I still don't understand that part, but I haven't been reading up on comics. But yeah, so that was nice.
J.K. Simmons is Commissioner Gordon.
He didn't have much to do.
I still think it's a good casting. If he had more to do, that would be better. But
Amy Adams, and Diane Lane should form the great actors who deserve more stuff in Justice League movies.
I feel like most people in the Justice League movie could say that, besides Batman.
I
Wonder
think
Woman,
they're
and
just
Superman.
waiting. They're just putting J.K. Simmons there for the whole Batman trilogy thing.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah. So I googled, and Cyborg will be a movie in 2020 starring Ray Fisher.
They need another character.
So. You could make a whole movie of just Jeremy Irons, J.K. Simmons, and Amy Adams as like the behind the Justice League.
That could be
fun. Just like an Oscar contender type film. It is like Amy Adams working as the Superman's first lady type character, going to all the charity events.
All right. Well, are there any other characters that we need to touch on? I think we got pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I think we got all on characters. I mean, there's that family that they kept showing us.
Oh yeah.
That was.
I was wondering whether or not the bug spray will like play a role in, like later on.
No.
Or that thing would actually work or not.
I feel like they got more screen time than like Cyborg or Aquaman, which kind of is sad. But
it's like,
I mean, I think they were an attempt to sort of make characters that you kind of care about, so that it doesn't just feel like all of these heroes are doing everything because they have to. But here's
the thing, people don't care about people.
Yeah. They should have done a better job of like, I remember the Avengers, I believe they have several just moments of like, oh, here's Captain America protecting a bunch of civilians and, shielding them from stuff. So I feel like if they had had those moments, they wouldn't have needed this family.
Right. I mean, they had that one moment with Wonder Woman.
I mean, Superman also
they
just
could have done more.
Taking the entire building with Flash in the car.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I think I overall liked the scenes, but I think they were too long. They didn't need to be as in depth.
Okay. I think next thing that we should talk about is probably mostly with me and Toa. Not sure if you have listened to this, but the soundtrack.
Yes, I was just about to say. I'm listening to it right now, and personally, I love it. I like most of what Danny Elfman's done now that I've researched on Danny Elfman. Yeah. It's the trick about this one is it's not its own iconic.
Yeah, there's just a
soundtrack.
lot of moments where it just feels like generic battle music.
Yeah. Which that's kind of what they've done with more recent Marvel movies.
Which I feel like they should have, just have like a thematic. I wanted a point where they could just hint back to the old Justice League theme, like because they like some of my favorite moments, like in the theater that I get like the biggest emotional reaction is just whenever they started playing like the old Batman theme song, just for a few seconds. I just love that. And then, I would catch a hint of Superman's theme song, which they didn't completely use, which I feel like they should have.
Yeah, I think they could have put it in more.
And then they didn't really have Wonder Woman's, electric cello.
No. That was definitely, I think, a mistake. I mean, they even included some parts of or some at least inspiration from the CW Flash theme, which I loved. I was halfway through watching the scene, well, where Flash is running, which is like every scene, but where, yeah, and I'm thinking, I've heard this before. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and like they would take bits and pieces from the other themes, and I did kind of do Wonder Woman's theme with the orchestra at the beginning, but I still think that they should have brought in Tina Guo for the electric cello. Man, that thing though.
Yeah, I think that would have been really beneficial, because like that is the most iconic soundtrack of the 3 DC movies before it. I have no idea what Superman's soundtrack was in Man of Steel, but I know the Superman soundtrack from John Williams. So like,
I feel like they should have just given up and done the complete Superman theme and the complete Batman theme, because those are already so iconic. And then with the Wonder Woman theme, you have these 3 really good character themes that embody their characters.
I mean, Hans Zimmer, he's a good composer, but he didn't really have that great of a theme for Batman or Superman.
Yeah, his Dark Knight trilogy stuff was good, but
the biggest thing was, and like, I'm mostly drawing from an interview from the composer who did the 3 Bionicle movies, is that like, it's not that the soundtrack is bad for Batman, for the new Marvel movies. It's just that it isn't memorable, and that seems to be a trend nowadays, that you just want the music to fade into the background. But at the same time, I like to be able to hear, like, when I hear Spider-Man's theme from the original trilogy,
you know something epic is about to happen.
I hear it specifically, and I'm like, oh, I know this. This is from here. This makes me feel these emotions. I'm tied to it because of that. When I hear, the Bionicle theme is a big one that it's iconic to me. Superman theme, like it's something that you're like, I know this. It gets stuck in your head, whereas it's not bad that a theme fades into the background, but I like to be able to remember it.
Yeah, and there are some recent films, and especially TV and video games, that have had iconic themes, and I think Wonder Woman's theme is incredible. But yeah, I do agree that you want to have, and I think part of the problem is that they've started using hiring pop singers to sing a song, and that sort of becomes the theme.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work quite as well as, the Danny Elfman Batman music.
Absolutely.
You just have to play a few notes of it, and suddenly everyone's thinking Batman.
Yeah. I had a thought. I just lost it. Let me figure this out again.
Another big downfall of Suicide Squad, where like they had a good collection of songs, but there was no specific song that I can remember.
Another thing about the yes.
That's the one thing that I think the DCU just does so much better than the Marvel movies, is the having these character themes. And so I wish that they would embrace that and do full-on memorable music for each of the characters and bring in all of that music.
So another thing that I wanted to point out about the music is the bank robbery scene, where they have that. It sounded a lot like Batman's whenever the bad guys they take over the scene. You know what I'm talking about? Yo, No.
Sorry, I've got the soundtrack going, so anything else is It's hard to think of at this moment.
But yeah, that kind of sounded a bit off to me because that whole sounding thing does not sound right for Wonder Woman, because that's more something that Batman villains themselves they would do, you know.
Yeah. And they've done such a good job of establishing the sound of Wonder Woman that deviating from that is a little strange.
True.
Yes, the song is called Wonder Woman Rescue. It's somewhere in the 30-second margin. That's what I'm talking about. Is there anything else we have to say about this?
I think I'm ready to give my overall review if you guys are.
Oh, I had one thing to add, and this gets into a bit of the current scandal in Hollywood. The Rat Pat logo at the beginning of the movie, which is Brett Ratner's company. I understand that he financed this movie, but I think they should have figured out a way to take that out, just especially with how they treated the Wonder Woman character. It felt a little bit repulsive to me.
I did not even
And then,
notice that.
because Gal Gadot said that she would not even do Wonder Woman 2 if Brett Ratner is part of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, that again, it probably wouldn't have been as big of a deal, except for how poorly they treated Wonder Woman. It kind of took me out of the movie.
My girl and I don't really look into stuff like that. Alright. Final thoughts.
I can go first. I would give it maybe a 60%. It's decent. I think it's a good time. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but at the same time, it could have been a whole lot better.
I mean, my way of measuring movies is all over the place at this point. I think in the spectrum of DC movies, this one was my favorite to watch. The characters were charming, and the plot was... It had a plot, which is better than some of the DC movies.
Oh, wait. We forgot to talk about all the end credit stuff.
Oh yeah.
Don't bring back Lex Luthor.
I mean,
I feel like I feel like that was too soon to have the Injustice League reveal, because we still have Darkseid to deal with.
Yeah.
But seeing Deathstroke was really cool.
Yeah, I like Deathstroke. I'm excited for him. Of course, that's a foothold for a future Arrow, hopefully. Green Arrow.
What do you mean future Arrow?
Like future Green Arrow to show up cinematically.
I mean, Deathstroke isn't
Fingers
just
crossed.
Green Arrow. He's also a Batman villain.
I know.
And a Teen Titan villain. He's everyone's villain.
But like, I think they should bring on Green Arrow. I'm a fan of green superheroes.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter, bring him
Of course.
in too.
Even though after what they did with Cyborg, that might not be the best idea.
I mean, as long as he looks better than Martian Manhunter and Supergirl, I'll be all right.
Like during the Arkham Asylum scene, when they showed that Lex Luthor escaped or something, I thought that they just replaced the actor. I was like, so they turned Lex Luthor into the Joker and they replaced the actor for the end credits? What is this?
Yeah, I was expecting to be like the Joker busted him out. That was like the whole thing, and then they were gonna meet up. But
I
that was apparently
I
not
think
the case.
the DCU has had a real big problem with their villains.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Marvel doesn't have any iconic villains, but the DCEU hasn't been treating its iconic villains very well.
Well, I would argue with your Marvel point because, I mean, Loki has appeared in
Yeah,
every single Thor movie, which he's not particularly a villain, but he's not also a
but
good
I
guy.
mean, outside of Spider-Man, you don't have any really iconic rogues galleries,
Yeah, I guess you're right.
and yeah, and I think like they'll need to solve that. I would almost say get rid of Jesse Eisenberg and Jared Leto and find someone who can do those roles.
I mean,
But
I would
I
say just stick with what you got and don't reboot again.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they can replace. At least they can't replace Eisenberg right now. They might. There's plot holes that you
yeah.
could get rid of.
I
the
mean,
Joker,
you could
Jared Leto
you could
Joker.
do that.
But it is interesting that in all the DCEU movies, one of the biggest complaints has been the villains, like
Yeah.
Zod in Man of Steel, then Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman,
Well, I
Jared
think
Leto
Zod.
and the Enchantress in Suicide Squad.
I think Zod was probably their best villain, which kind of sucks
Yeah.
because I barely even remember what Superman or Man of Steel
I
is
mean,
about.
Joker, I still really haven't seen anything worthwhile with that actor in anything with the character, which is
Yeah.
really what needs to
But
be determined.
but you also had the Enchantress in Suicide Squad, and then you had Ares in Wonder Woman, and now Steppenwolf.
Yeah. Harry's just disappointing, man. Yeah. I don't know. That's something they'll have to fix. Even in this one, they had a chance, like John was saying, to bring in Darkseid, and they didn't.
Maybe
even
they're
hint at
saving
him,
until
really.
they can figure out how to do villains.
Maybe. Yeah. We'll see how everything turns
Yeah.
out. I'm hoping they'll get their stuff together. Overall, I still think this is a big step up. It's like I was saying, it's in my opinion better than Wonder Woman. I don't think character-wise it was, but that's mostly because they had more than two characters to think about. And they kind of only concentrated on two characters. But that's okay. It ended with narration
Yeah,
about like positive things, just like Wonder Woman did. I think at least this narration made more sense because it was like, oh, I'm a journalist and I'm writing
it was
a
less
journal
cheesy,
article.
but it was a bit
Yeah,
more cliche.
and like, yeah. So I just finished Daredevil season 2 a while back, which also ends on
Yeah.
a similar note. And I think they did better in Justice League than in that as well. But like, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like this had a lot better pacing than Wonder Woman, I suppose. Where it was like all build up the whole time, and then the final fight was just like, eh. At least this one, it was a pretty good final fight, all things considered. It wasn't amazing, but it was there. And there was no like game / show breaking reveal that was like, secretly you're a god. Because I think that was stupid, but maybe that's just me.
I mean, I would argue that Wonder Woman was better than Justice League, but I can tell where you're coming from. And I mean, I feel like Justice League is very much a like a 180 turn for the DCEU. And so while they knocked down a few mailboxes in that turn, I like where it's headed.
I think that's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah, I'm with you there. It's by no means... in my opinion, it's by no means a good movie because it's a good movie by itself. It's a good movie because it looks like a promising future for the Justice League movies.
And then, of course, the threat with that is if there isn't any more good Justice League movies, then it will become a bad movie.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. It's something that I enjoyed. It's the lasagna to my pizza, in that I much prefer pizza over lasagna. But if I have pizza every day, lasagna tastes so good to me. The Marvel movies are my pizza, where they're good. I like pizza a lot. I like Marvel movies a lot. But it was a nice change of pace, and it's probably equally as good. I just probably can't consume this as regularly. I could probably go back and watch Thor Ragnarok multiple times and still enjoy it. I could probably watch this one more time and enjoy it, and then have to take a little break.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's particularly worse than Thor, but it's just more... It requires more energy on the part of the watcher, because you kind of have to piece things together as it goes. Whereas Thor did a really good job at just keeping the energy level going the whole time, which most Marvel movies do. So, I guess I would probably rate it like probably like a 7.5, 7 point. No, like a 7.8, because it was better than Batman vs Superman in my opinion.
Way better.
But it's
in my opinion, Batman vs Superman is still my favorite of the DC movies.
Okay.
Because it focuses more on Batman. It just focuses more on just the smaller characters, just those characters, and just not blocked out by all the other characters. But Justice League is a close second with our current DC movies. I again would rate it probably around 7.5 to 7.9 or something, somewhere within that scale. I don't know, but overall, it was good. I would say better than Marvel movies, because Marvel movies are getting old for me. Those are all the same movie.
At least they're good. That's my thing. But
yeah,
I mean, that's the whole Marvel versus DC argument, which we probably don't want to get into.
I mean, my argument is just that DC is good, but it's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think both sides are good. Marvel just beat it to the punch.
It's
and so
Marvel
DC
is more popular. DC is more artistic.
Well, artistic is
more modern art.
They take more risks.
It's modern art.
Well,
pretty much. People don't always understand it.
Cinematographically,
from a visual perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more artistic. Yeah. A lot of slow-mo and stuff.
I think the DCEU, they've been taking more creative risks, but the problem with creative risks is they don't always go well, and that's where Marvel kind of beats them, in that when you walk into a Marvel movie, you know what you're getting into. When you walk into a DC movie, it could be the best movie you ever seen, or it could be one of the worst.
Another point is that DC...
Yeah, and I think Justice League
is at its best when it's in cartoon fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see more live action renditions, but yeah, I like the
yeah.
I like the cartoons quite a bit. I just want Young Justice 3 season 3 to come out faster.
Just get that over quick. Bring back Wally and all that.
Yeah. Don't pull a Justice League Superman and bring him back at the season finale or something. That would be stupid.
Maybe it's.
So, any comment on the future Justice League movies? Aquaman is up next.
I'm always going to be excited for a superhero movie. Well, I won't say always, but I'm likely going to be excited for the next superhero movies. Aquaman's always been a fun superhero in my opinion. He hasn't gotten the limelight that he should have in the past years, so that'll be good. Flash is one of my favorites.
Just give us Green Lanterns.
Yeah, Green Lantern's one of my. They need to concentrate a little bit more on the color spectrum, because most people, if they know of Green Lantern, they have no idea what other lanterns there are. So they tried to do that with the last movie, but that did not.
And also just have an actual suit for the Green Lanterns.
Yeah, I don't think we need to see. I like the concept that they played with, but let's never do that again.
CG is good for the actual ability, but not for the overall look.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't spend all your money. Just have that character on screen all the time.
Yep.
I, for one, am excited for Wonder Woman 2. Hopefully Patty Jenkins comes back for that.
Who's that?
That's the director.
Okay. As long as it's not as cheesy as the first one.
The first one wasn't cheesy.
Yeah, it was.
I would say that it definitely was. They
I mean, it was a good cheesy, but it was still pretty cheesy.
I will agree that the last act had a lot of problems.
It was more cheesy.
But I think the rest of the movie...
I'll give you that. The non-last half of it was pretty okay, except for, like, how far they sailed in that amount of time and things like that, where it just breaks reality.
I mean,
too
Steve
much.
Trevor obviously could have survived because they were... Well, where were they? In Germany? And that's a 2-hour flight from Germany to London, so he could have flown somewhere else and then jumped out.
Maybe.
Because...
They were in the Ottoman Empire.
That's still...
Oh wait, no, yeah, at the end they were in Germany.
Yeah, still, that would have been like a few hours flight. He could have had enough time to get the plane to safety and just survive. He didn't have to blow up just because he was impatient.
I think they did a good job with that setup, but I mean, yeah, that's a discussion for a different day.
That we're probably never going to have.
No.
That being said, if anybody out there wants to say terrible things about Justice League, I would urge you to go watch a terrible film like, I don't know, Thanksgiving 3 or like LA Maniac, or just like films that have a budget under $1,000, and then watch the Justice League. You will like it a lot more. Just pointing that out.
Yeah. One thing that will help with that is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
That would also work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has claimed that Justice League isn't interesting or a good enough time, but I mean, It could have been, like, if you compare it to the Avengers was also a good time, but it's, you know, a very well-constructed film in a way that Justice League just honestly isn't.
Hands down, I would say that Avengers was the better film, and part of that is definitely they built up to it. They didn't just throw it out there.
Yeah. And like I said, Justice League, if it's thrown out there, it has to be where the heroes stumble upon each other.
Yeah. I would have to, yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Is that all?
With this intriguing dialogue, I think I'm all set. I've said my piece.
All right. I believe that's everything we have. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.